no one will give you a chance because you don't have the experience. So when it comes to internships, there are several different options. Now, if you want to do something in the nonprofit sector in which you don't have to work for, you don't have to actually study nonprofits, but for example, if let's say you get a degree in environmentalism. So what a person can do is they can go to a website like idealist.org and they can find paid internships about environmentalism. Now, those internships are going to be not based on nonprofit organizations, but they could be great ways to get some experience that could supplement which is theoretic academics.
Now, we talked about how to, get the better job if you have the employment, but what a lot of people are experiencing now is they get out of college and there's not even a job in their field. Their field is shrinking, or, the requirements go up and up. It used to be an associate's degree, now it's a bachelor's degree, now it's a master's, and then eventually a doctorate. I know people, they need to have a bachelor's degree just to have an internship running coffee and running the fax machine. So how does somebody combat this unemployment system?
Absolutely. So internships is one. And what's funny is there's actually some paid internships that actually pay more than entry-level jobs. Google is an example. A lot of people are trying to always apply for Google internships because they're one of the most high paying, and they tend to pay more than a lot of entry-level jobs. So that's just one. Another one is volunteering. So if you're living with your parents and you really don't have no responsibility and you really have no bills, well, that could be a good option as well. You could volunteer for, let's say, a nonprofit organization for maybe about a summer, maybe several months to get that experience. And then by the end of that term, they may actually give you a position to work for their company. So that's another one. There's a lot of different ones. We talk about apprenticeships. Apprenticeships is another one to be able to. Now, this is like if you're doing like blue collar work. So if you're doing something like you're like an electrician, if you're like a plumber or you're something like that, which actually those jobs are still in demand. No one wants to do them, but they're still in demand. They actually pay well. So you could do your apprenticeship for a year, and then once you get your license or your certification, you become a journeyman, and then you can work by yourself and kind of have your own career.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on that, talking about the plumbers, the other type of trades, or even people who drive garbage trucks. I understand those guys make a decent amount of money. And when I was in Oklahoma, I knew a guy. He worked at one of the local casinos as what do you call those guys? The valet. And those guys made more in tips than the managers did working at the casino.
For sure.
So, that's another aspect that a lot of people, they don't really quite understand, a lot of the young people. And I mean, I'll tell anybody to the face, the young people, they ask me about school or whatever else. And I say, well, take the time to really sit back and reflect on this. Ask somebody who's telling you to go to college, ask them what their student loan debt is. And if they don't want to tell you that, then take that into consideration. Because I'll tell them straight up, man, I left school with about $6,000 in student loan debt. Most people don't have that. A lot of the people telling them to go to the big state schools and spend all this big money, they're still paying on their student loan debt. So, you take all this stuff into consideration. But I know we talked a lot about that. I know you also have some articles, and I want to talk about those articles.
Absolutely.
And pull those up.
Great. So we have an article here by Susan Adams, and it's from Forbes, and it's the bad news behind the unemployment numbers. And if we look at the article, 31% of Americans who have looked for jobs in the past 4 weeks have been unemployed for 6 months or more. Just imagine that. A lot of people think, oh, but the unemployment rate is 5.8%, which is completely a fraud, because whether you're working 40 hours a week, 14 hours a week, or 4 hours a week, the government still considers you unemployed, which is not an accurate reflection, because that's not a living that people can sustain themselves on. I'm
so glad you said that, because a lot of people, they look at all these statistics, and then even the job creation that we do see, a lot of that's in the government sector. But as you said, it's a fraud. It's very misleading data. And we'll talk more about this. Let's talk about briefly, a lot of people, they're on part-time status now because, Obamacare, things like that. We saw Walmart saying that we can't afford to pay people, the normal wage because of Obamacare. So even people who are able to get a job there, they're working part-time with fewer, if any, benefits. So now they have to work multiple jobs just to get that same paycheck that they used to get years before.
So that's a great point that you brought up, Jakari, because there's alternatives to unemployment. A person can be self-employed. So a lot of times people may get the hours cut back and have to be part-time. Well, there's one way a person can actually get multiple part-times and actually develop a full-time income. So one way is, for example, there's something called event promotions, and where a company like AT&T, they need like a back-to-school campaign. And usually they don't execute these kind of campaigns. They'll hire a marketing firm to do the campaign. And usually what happens is a marketing firm is going to look for someone like you to do the campaign. So they subcontract that assignment for you to do it. And a lot of assignments pay anywhere between $16 to $25 an hour. Now, of course, you can't sustain you living off of one assignment, but if you get multiple assignments, that could be a very lucrative living. So that's one way to combat off getting laid off and going from full-time to part-time. You could find some of those event promotions, gather those up and I can help you out a little bit.
Okay, now with the time we have, let's talk about the book. So people can pick up the book where?
At reachingthefinishline.com.
Okay, reachingthefinishline.com.
Absolutely. And if they also go to the website, they can also get my free white paper, save up to 75%, what the IRS doesn't want you to know. A lot of people are getting into small business, but they end up paying, we see how small business is getting hurt by Obamacare, a lot of these other laws. Well, there's a way that the IRS don't openly tell people about that people can actually save up to 75%. And that's something to get my free white paper at reachingthefinishline.com.
Okay, so tell us, if somebody picked this book up, do you suggest they read it from the beginning? But like, what's the most powerful chapter in here? For let's say, the young person who's about to go to college, they're 18, they just graduated, they're about to go to the community college. What chapter should they read?
There's actually, Jakari, a chapter in there that talks about how to graduate with a bachelor's degree in 1 year. Now, we talked about how a lot of these college students end up graduating with a bachelor's degree in 6 years instead of 4 years because they keep changing their major. Well, you can actually do it in 1 year. And one way to do it in 1 year is to do something called credit by examination. And basically what they are is, instead of spending 3 months or a whole semester in college, you can take a simple test. Basically, you could test out of these subjects. So you test out these subjects, you get a grade, and you go to the next subject. And if a person could basically take a bunch of tests, if they're a good test taker, they can basically get a bachelor's degree in 1 year. Now, those majors are not vast. They're quite limited. So it's going to be liberal arts, it's going to be business administration, criminal justice, things like that. But if a person just want a college degree, want to get it done and over with, it could be a very effective way in doing it. And as well, it's very affordable. Each test is about $85. So just take the $85 times whatever amount of courses, that's going to be a whole lot less than what you're going to pay for a bachelor's degree. And Jakari, for your listeners, what I want to do is, if they send me an email at Callen, which is Kallen, at reachingthefinishline.com, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a free copy of this ebook. Free copy, not the physical book, but I'll be happy to send you a copy of the free ebook of Reaching the Finish Line. You can send me an email at Callen at reachingthefinishline.com. But if you want the paperback, you can go to reachingthefinishline.com.
All right, Callen, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Jakari.
All right. Well, that's it for our show tonight. Be sure to stop by prisonplanet.tv and get a subscription. You can see the nightly news, the special reports, the rants, all that on prisonplanet.tv. I'm Jakari Jackson for the INFOWARS Nightly News, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
City of Austin tap water versus filtered City of Austin tap water.
I can taste dirt in it.
God knows what's in this.
This has an aftertaste.
Tastes like Austin water? Yeah, it does. Ugh.
These people just sampled City of Austin tap water straight from the faucet. Next, we had them try a sample of tap water filtered through the ProPure G2.0 filtration system.
High quality H2O.
That one is better.
Tastes like nothing.
Yep, I know what good water tastes like. It's good water.
Most tap water contains added substances like fluoride, chlorine, Monsanto's deadly pesticide, glyphosate, and many others. Studies prove that these substances are linked to an assortment of major health issues, including tooth decay, lowered IQ, and even cancer.
It tastes like you're drinking out of the lake when you're drinking tap water.
It has that processed flavor to it.
The ProPure G2.0 filtration system removes these deadly substances and many more, leaving only fresh-tasting, deliciously clean water.
Okay, this is very tasty.
It's good water.
Refreshing.
It's good.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com today. Use promo code WATER and save 10% off your ProPure purchase. Again, that's InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
You are watching the INFOWARS Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.